Hello and welcome everybody back to another episode of the Arrive and Drive podcast. Here with me, we have Jordan Missick and Zach Buchanan. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Had a forsaken week off, I guess you could say. My schedule got busy. As some of you know, I was out in Barber Motorsports Park this past weekend. So, I got busy out there. Absolutely had no internet connection, and internet sucked throughout the weekend out there. So, I wasn't really posting much or able to look up, search anything, or do any editing. So, posting YouTube video for me was almost physically impossible. So, wasn't able to post the episode from last week, but we're back this week for a much better one, I would say. So,
Yes, sir.
Zach, how about you? What are you up to?
You got me on this one.
Sometimes you're just at the mercy of technology. That's just how it goes sometimes. I don't race again till May. Well, it is May, but later
It
this
is May.
month.
It is May.
Yeah, a few weeks from now.
racing.
Month of May, baby.
Few
Yes,
weeks
sir.
from now, we've got next Ignite race. Ignite Series race is May 22nd. May 21st. Got a busy weekend though. I'm working at the racetrack pretty much the next 3 weekends. We got the Ignite Road Racing Challenge at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway this weekend, and then we've got WK Manufacturers Cup at Newcastle the following weekend, the inaugural Ignite Ironman 60, and then following weekend is Ignite Series and Ignite Challenge. So I'll be working
Now,
the challenge as well.
That's
And we
a
got the
cash out.
500 after that.
Oh, yeah. Indy 500, especially
So,
after that, too. Now, that's a
yeah.
cash out price race. That's happening out at Newcastle, right? That Ironman race?
Yeah, $3,000 plus cash purse.
It's insane.
It's pretty epic. And really, if you've got an Ignite cart and you're entered in another Ignite class, you're set. It's just another additional $100 to run the Ironman. Considering how much freaking money you could win, yeah, that's a good deal. So, pretty cool. Pretty excited for that. See who all we draw for that. So it should be fun.
We were going to have our other Ignite boy, Evan Stommer, be on the show with us tonight, but he decided to ditch us tonight to go play on the sim with his buddy Scott, they're actually going to be racing up at Road America this weekend in the WRO race.
Got to keep the boss man happy. Yeah, I will say that. Actually, so it's pretty cool. Evan's racing up at Road America with Scott, and they're also racing with my boss, Keith Freeber. Shout out. All three of those guys are teaming up to run a BMW M2 in WRL. So that's pretty cool. First time that I think Keith's raced in 30 years, I think he said, 25 or 30 years. So
That's crazy.
that's pretty awesome for him, and it's just cool to see all the boys get together and go racing.
And they get to go
sure.
up into a track too, like Road America as well, which in and of itself is majestic and beautiful as can be, being up in the mountains and hills of Wisconsin. And
They're
such a fast track,
anticipating
too.
90 cars.
That's insane. 90
Yeah,
cars.
which I mean, even for a track for Road America, that's that big.
I mean, that's huge. Road America is huge, and especially for 90 cars. But geez, that's going to be a lot of traffic to have to negotiate throughout the course of a race. And Road America is not that wide of a track either.
No,
Yeah.
especially if you've got some
I don't know.
multi-class racing, Yeah, that is going to be pretty hectic, I think. So, pretty
Should be
wild.
fun. Yeah, moving
So-
in here, though, we have dumb things on the racetrack going to first, obviously, for the show. Now, usually dumb things racetrack are, per se, Zach crashing by himself.
I'm good at
in
that.
a
I'm a
cart.
professional.
Yep, that's on there. That's on here a lot. Or Jordan just being himself sometimes. But today we have something a little different. I wanted to do this on. And I have a lot of opinion on this one.
Nate was pushing for
Fake-
this topic.
Yeah, I was pushing this would be on setting to pull the reins, but everybody kind of agreed this is stupid. So it's just on dumb things to do on the racetrack, and it's not actually a certain incident this time, which usually is. It is actually a thing on the racetrack. Fake water at the Miami GP. It's pretty
That
it's
is a
something.
dumb thing on
Yeah.
a racetrack.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
From aesthetics, it looks cool. From an
Yeah.
aesthetic standpoint, it looks pretty dope. But considering you just put a bunch of boats with fake water around it, I mean, it just looks like somebody's art project, really.
yeah.
But
Now, I think to add a little bit of context to it, I believe the city of Miami was not able to get the permits to put water in the said area that they planned to put it in, and that's why they had to implement fake water into the makeshift harbor that they created. So I think that's the whole reason why they added fake water into it. Now, it was funny because I saw earlier on EA Sports F1 2022, they posted a little intro of trailer of the F1 game that's coming out, and they actually added water into it. So the game's going to have actual water, but the race itself has fake water. So
that's actually kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, yeah. But then I also saw...
Isn't it all fake water, though? Because the game is technically fake. So isn't it fake water anyway?
You know, shut up. We're not going to go into that context.
Dude, it's just a different...
You're going to make our brains hurt here.
Really quick pause. Did you guys see the covers for that game, too? Like
I did.
It's very plain.
So I will say that
it's a sky background and 3 people are standing, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the Champions Edition is basically just Alonso, Hamilton, Verstappen, and Vettel.
People are so mad. People are so mad that Verstappen's on there. It's like, dude, well, he's a champion.
He is a champion. So.
He is a world champion. You can't get mad at that. And everybody's like, oh, he wins one world champion. He can stay.
So I will say this. Shout out to our boy David Land, who is going to be on the podcast here in the next couple of days. I actually talked with him out at Barber Motorsports Park, and he agreed.
I'm so excited to talk to him, dude.
He's going to be on the show.
He's probably one of the reasons I got into IndyCar, dude, because like freshman year of high school this year, a couple years back, I guess now. I'm seeing around. Freshman year of high school.
So we're probably going to have a full house for that show, I will say. Freshman year of high school, Dave? What were you saying?
Freshman year of high school, I was like I was just getting into IndyCar for the first time, and I watched, I think, so much David Land stuff to actually like know about it more and more. So he's like one of the main people that got me into IndyCar. So I'm excited to actually talk to him.
Yeah. That's one thing that I really like.
It's pretty cool.
You know, a few years ago about his videos, just kind of they were good for educating people. You know, like the Rolex videos with you know breaking down the teams. Indy 500, same deal. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's going to be on. He'll break down the whole Indy 500 with us, as well as what's happening in the month of May, who to watch for, who to keep a close eye on. And knowing him, he will probably make a prediction, and whoever he predicts will probably be the winner, knowing him. But he also posted on Twitter saying that for this game, that it's a racing game, but yet there's no race cars on the cover for the F1 game. It's just all the drivers' faces.
Yeah, I think it's been that.
That's a good point.
It's been in the last couple of years, I'm pretty sure. But it's like last year's was kind of a weirder background, but it has an actual background though to it.
Yeah.
This year it's literally just it's literally a sky with 3 people, 3 faces, and it's like, all right, it's pretty plain. The gameplay looks pretty good. I'm excited. Plus they have supercars this year in it too, so they have a little different aspect to it. Which
they do have like a little supercars for like the Pirelli hot laps, I guess you could do now that they're doing so. That'll be interesting to see how his whole thing is going to be implemented into the game itself. But fake water in Miami when you're next to the beach at a racetrack. They're trying to set it up kind of like a little harbor with the beach and everything there. So that'll be interesting to see how it's all going to play out. Just hope Daniel Ricciardo...
It's not a good look though.
Yeah,
for people that don't like American F1 races, I feel like it's not a good look. I see so many like Monica wannabe like tweets on kind of stuff, and it's not a good look for America F1. I feel like though too.
Yeah, just hope
it needs to go well. I'm telling you, for like American F1 races in the future, actually race not like money wise, but racing wise, this race needs to go well.
Remember previously when we talked about the GP when we first talked about Vegas, you know, when we were like, hey, Miami doesn't look good for the, you know, if we're looking down the road for the future, you know, it kind of seems like they're already riding off Miami. Just the vibe that, you know, that the public gets from it. Yep. So it definitely, you know, doesn't help when you consider just some of the minor things like, you know, the fake water. Which fake water, that's really not that big of a deal, but you know.
Not only that, but just looking at the track overhead, like looking at the visual, the front straightaway isn't long at all. And the run to turn 1's not going to be really much anything special since it's just a little bit of a sweeper corner. And the only thing is that there's 2 long straightaways, which is probably where you're going to be see all the passing. Other than that, it's just going to be fast flowy corners, which with these cars doesn't work really well because you have the dirty air and the aero push that you get from the car falling behind. So passing in corners is going to be tough, so that's why you're going to see a lot of passes being made at the end of a straightaway into long braking zone, or they're going to be much easy passes like you would see at Spa down the Kemmel Straight, how the straight's so long that an easy pass can be made. It's almost impossible to defend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, you almost think of it like to maybe a lesser extent, maybe like the old U.S. Indy GP circuit. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that long sweeping section from the last basically two corners all the way up to turn one. You know, that was a long stretch of straightaway. You could even say the same about Monaco. You know, even for F1 cars, you know, some of the straights at Monaco, gosh, or not Monaco, Monza, sorry. Monza, those straightaways.
Mm-hmm.
Very long, you know, setting up passes. There's three really good opportunities, I think, to set up, well, three or four, really, those long straightaways, you know. So that is a good point.
All right, so let's go on to our next topic, which is going to be Ben Axel's and Broken Hearts, and it's poor old Denny Hamlin's miserable day at Dover Motor Speedway.
So, I
So
mean, his his tire got second in the race off pit road. That was pretty cool.
he almost beat him off pit road.
Yeah, that would have been a really bad day. You get beat off pit road by
whenever I first heard about this happened, it was actually from a Denny Hamlin tweet, and I didn't even see what happened in the race. I just was scrolling on Twitter and I just see Denny Hamlin tweet out something about, it's not really a good day when you have to race your own tire off pit road, and I'm like, what? That's how I saw the actual further clip of it. So that was interesting.
Well, Denny actually posted, I think, on his Instagram, and it was a meme of it was a compilation of all three things that happened on that day that made it so miserable. And of course, the song "Having a Bad Day" was playing in the background.
Oh my gosh!
It started off with Michael Waltrip's grid walk, which kind of like Texas a few years ago, where he spilled the taco on the back of the deck.
Did that actually happen?
He spilled the cake next to his car.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I love that was the start of the day. Then he lost the tire and almost lost the race off pit road to his tire, and then he got caught up in Cody Weir's mess on the front straightaway, which ultimately kind of took him out of contention for the day.
Yeah, that was kind of funny the way it happened because it developed so slowly.
Yeah,
that crash on the front stretch.
Well, the thing is that Hamlin moved out of the way and was going to clear the incident, but Cody Weir just decided because the way the banking is, I think he might have scrubbed so much speed that he just came down the straightaway. I don't know if there was really much Cody Weir could have done, or Hamlin could have done himself, but it just wrong place, wrong time, I guess, and it just took him out.
For sure. No, I don't chalk that up. Obviously, it was Cody's fault that he spun. Yeah. But aside from that, I mean, it was just self-cleaning. Denny couldn't do anything. Once Cody was spinning, I mean, he couldn't really do anything to stay out of the way. So, happens. What can you say?
No point in that. So, Hamlin having a very bad day. We'll put it at that.
For sure. Let's jump into wings and things here quick. So, we don't have Evan on. But let's talk about one of we'll call him a Arrive and Drive alumni. Christian Weir had his first pole in USF 2000 and had his first podium in USF 2000. So congrats to Christian. Good run in his Turn 3 motorsports car. So that's awesome. Jordan, you were busy too with Indy Pro 2000. Talk a little bit about your weekend.
Yeah, so had Indy Pro 2000 out of Barber Motorsports Park throughout the course of the day. The Paps guys, we were all struggling throughout the course of the weekend. Give a shout out to my other teammates, Miles Rowe, who continues to impress on a limited budget. He went on to win actually in the USF 2000 race and then finished fourth in race 2. He's actually going to be with the Paps team for Indianapolis. So there was talk about Barber being potentially his last race. He's got enough funding now to where he's able to go on to race at Indianapolis next weekend. So it'll be cool to see him out there. But yeah, for the rest of the Paps crew, it was kind of a struggle. I mean, Colin Kaminsky got a podium, qualified second for race 1, got a podium. But then after that, we were kind of struggling in race 2. I was able to come away with a 9th place finish in race 1, and then had some misfortune happen in race 2 to where I finished 14th. But other than that, we were just kind of struggling for grip the entire time and just kind of trying to hang with it. But Yeah, so we kind of look on forward going to Indianapolis next weekend, and I think we're going to make some strides there as a Peps and as the team as a whole. So I'm looking forward to that.
That should be fun. And have you raced on the GP circuit before?
Not the GP circuit, no. The only thing I've actually raced on the GP circuit has been in the go
Go
karts when
karts.
we've
Yeah.
done from
Yep.
the turn one out to which would be turn three technically, and
Yep.
into the old F1 circuit. But other than that, no, this will be my first time actually being on the GP circuit. So I'm really looking forward to it and excited for it all.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, I guess, and maybe this is something you might experience the entire season, but considering the fact that a lot of the guys that you're racing against started at the bottom of the road in USF. Now it's USF juniors, but for these
Yeah,
guys would have been USF 2000. These a lot of these guys that you race against have raced the GP circuit several
sure.
times. So, for you being an FR coming over to Indy Pro, I'm sure that's probably a challenge in general for the season. I would think, going to all these tracks that some of which you've never raced at before. So, I
Yeah,
mean, what's that like? Trying to adjust to a new track and still really a new car.
yeah, especially like I'll take St. Pete for an example because everybody has raced St. Pete in USF 2000 before, and then I just jumped in it for an Indy Pro. Uh, Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, and you definitely had to, learn the tracks quickly. But to me, I've raced so much now that learning a track can come within like the first 5 to 10 laps. You can learn a racetrack
Really,
and not be on it. So it's just maximizing the braking zones and understanding the technique and how much speed you can roll into a corner. That's basically how you learn the track. And especially with Indy 2, from what I've seen on the Sims so far, is the whole backside of the racetrack is going to be all flowy corners. And it's just you take it slow and then you kind of work your way up to it and understand how fast you can take the corner based on the grip level and how much the tire is going to give you, which comes fairly quickly within like the first 2 or 3 laps. You can understand it. So yeah, I think to your point as well, a lot of these guys who are also racing this year have raced in the USF 2000. Well, the Indy Pro was basically a USF 2000 chassis, just more downforce, bigger engine, and bigger tires. So for them, it equals more grip and able to push a little bit harder. So I think for me, the learning curve is even steeper, to be able to challenge some of these guys. And, race two at Barber, I was able to show some pace. I actually got up to the sixth spot at one point throughout the race. So to show the pace I had and to be even contending with these guys mid pack, I think speaks volumes for not only the series, but for myself as well on how quickly I've been able to adapt and get into the series and kind of be competitive. But going forward to Indianapolis, I'm really looking forward to it and seeing how learning from my teammates on how these guys have been able to adapt to this track. I mean, Juvens won there last year as well, so I got a past race winner from the USF 2000 series who's won there as well. So learning from him and kind of understanding how the track's going to be, how to drive it's going to be special for me.
That's
so
awesome.
let's jump into the Indy Lights finish. So, I like to think that Indy Lights is typically pretty interesting. It's typically the racing is good. Let's
Oh
put it
yeah,
that way. The racing is usually pretty good in Indy Lights. Even for people have been critics of, well, there's 8 cars to race against. How is it entertaining? Well, now we got 14 cars in Indy Lights this year, and it's almost as big as Indy Pro 2000,
and
which is incredible considering the fact that there's also USF juniors now. So
mhm.
theoretically, each series could potentially be more diluted. And now Indy Lights is the best it's been in a long time, and we had a pretty insane race.
And I don't think it's done there. I think you're still going to see the Indy Lights field continue to expand. It may not be this year, but I think 2 3 years down the line, you could see probably, let's say, a 20-car Indy Lights field. You probably could end up seeing
For
because
sure.
the thing that Penske's wanted to do with Penske Entertainment is to mimic kind of like what NASCAR's philosophy is of the Xfinity series, and they want to try to
Yeah.
get some of the teams like they already got Penske's team with Force Indy down in Indy Lights. They got Andretti Autosport down there. They've got Dale Coyne Racing with HMD. So they're trying to get some of
Yep.
these IndyCar teams. And I think even Juncos is planning on coming back to Indy Lights next year as well with 2 cars. So you're
That would
looking
be good.
at, you're looking at someone trying to get all these IndyCar teams to come down to like the Indy Lights level and be the feeder series of Indy Lights drivers into the NTT IndyCar series.
And it would be great to get like Carlin back. I don't think they're in it this year. I think
Not
they've
this year, no.
exited. No. And I mean, in past they were a staple of Indy Lights. They have won the Indy Lights title, and of course, you know, the quick reaction is if you are aware of Carlin's success, that they have seen much success well beyond Indy Lights, but you know it is still a different series, and considering how short their tenure was in Indy Lights, they did accomplish quite a bit, and that's another team that I think would be really cool to return at some point.
Absolutely. And I think you're going to see some of these teams like, I would even see, maybe even a team like an AJ Foyt Racing start to come down. That would be interesting to see. Or you see
Yeah.
teams like a Chip Ganassi. Ganassi doesn't have a team or anything like that. Again, Ganassi is a really big team in IndyCar, and they take some of the biggest names now. But some of the biggest
They
names
used to
that
have
we
a
see,
program.
exactly, they used to have one. So I think you can start to see a program start to come in, and especially now that Chip Ganassi is even getting some extra money in his pocket now that he doesn't have a NASCAR team. He's
For
got
sure.
obviously the 2 IMSA DPI cars that he deals with, but maybe he's got some money left over to spare for an Indy Lights team in the near future. Who knows? It's possibilities are endless with the Indy Lights program nowadays, and it's good to see just the Indy Lights program on a positive note, and especially when you get good racing like we saw this past weekend at Barber Motorsports Park with a rain full on wet track to start off the race. And then the sun comes out, I think, 10 minutes into the race and it dries up the entire racetrack. So you got guys now 45 minutes into the race on very old wet tires on a dry racetrack, basically, searching for
Literally
water
just
just to
drifting.
cool the tires down. Yeah, just drifting the track.
That was pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, I certainly love what Indy Lights has going on right now. I mean, that race, like you said, Jordan, was a great test for the drivers. I mean, there's no question. The drivers that are in Indy Lights, it was questionable 10 years ago. Could this guy go from Indy Lights and be successful in IndyCar? It's pretty clear that, example, Kyle Kirkwood, or even, David Malukas, or you look further back, Oliver Askew, or,
Yeah,
I know he doesn't have a ride right now, but you could say him. You could say Pato Award. You could say Colton Herta. There's so many examples where it just validates what Indy Lights is now. The only knock that I have on Indy Lights right now is that they don't have the Freedom 100. That's
yeah.
and you can try to justify it all you want, but that was a staple
That
of
was the
Carb
marquee
Day.
race. It was the marquee
Yeah.
race.
Yeah, and I know it's expensive. It would have been the only race of the season that they used the super speedway configuration, and if that's the case, so be it. But the attraction to that series, I mean, listen, I remember going to Carb Day when I was 18, so this would have been 2016. I remember going to Carb Day because it was the weekend of the 100th Indy 500. I was going to the 500 itself, so we drove to and from Indy those 2 days. And I wanted to go to Carb Day because, well, it's Carb Day. You had final practice for the 500. You had the Freedom 100. That was the big reason why I wanted to go personally. But you had the Freedom 100 and you had the pit stop competition. It was just a big day. It was a big
Right.
deal.
Right.
You had a lot going on. So I wanted to go see all this. And now that's one less thing that they've got on Carb Day. And I know it's been like that for a few years now. It's just, it is very unfortunate that that's the way it is. So I hate it, and I hope at some point in the near future that it returns.
And I think the reason why this has happened is no fault to Malukas any way, shape, or form, of what his doing or his part. But I think after seeing Malukas' crash that got in touch with Cody Swanson, I think that really turned the
Chris
table on
Wyndham.
Penske. Oh, Chris Wyndham, sorry. Cody
Chris
Swanson
Wyndham, yeah.
races Indy Pro. I think that honestly turned the table and put a sour taste in Penske's mouth of why Indy Lights should not run the Freedom 100, because we have, I wouldn't say inexperienced guys, but we have guys who are still developing and learning as drivers, racing on a 2.5 mile oval, going almost speeds of 200 miles an hour. Someone's going to get hurt, or someone's going to put, their life in jeopardy, because we've seen a lot of bad accidents out of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the Freedom 100 Indy Lights.
And, to the credit of those drivers, teams, officials, safety crews, safety innovations themselves, there's never been a fatality. Knock
It's
on wood.
remarkable.
There's never been a fatality in, the brief tenure from 2002 to 2019 of the Freedom 100. I think it was 2002. Or maybe it was 2002. 2002 was the first year of Indy Lights under the IRL banner.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was either 2002 or 2003 that they went to Indy for the first time. I think it was 2003. I could be wrong. But, basically, considering tracks that have had worse incidents, series that have had worse incidents. I mean, literally, the Indy 500 has had many fatalities. Now, of course, this was a long time ago. The most recent fatality at the Speedway, I believe, was Scott Bray in 1996 in practice. Safety is still a concern. I do want to make that very clear when I say what I'm about to say. These cars have the halos. These cars did not have the halos when they raced back in 2019 at not the 500, the Freedom 100, when it was David Malukas going flying, Chris Wyndham going flying. The concern of I believe it was Wyndham's car almost going into the cockpit of Malukas's car.
Yeah,
that's certainly always a concern. Cars going airborne, open wheel cars especially,
debris flying.
It's debris flying, going into the catch fence. But look, with the halo, has to be exponentially more safe. To clarify for context, I looked it up. The first Freedom 100 was 2003, so from 03 to 19. So that would be 17 races. And I believe they had a few minor injuries. I believe Chase Austin in 2014, as well as I think it's Jorge Goncalves in 2011.
Well, there was a huge wreck that happened in 2014, I think, with was it Chase Austin?
That was Chase Austin. Yeah, I didn't say that one. So Chase Austin and I believe it was Jorge Goncalves. And aside from that, I don't think there's been a single other injury that I can think of that is notable. So, I mean, if we want to, we can sit here and debate it all we want. It really just comes down to Penske Corporation, Penske Entertainment, whether they decide to bring that race back. Now, there could be stuff that we don't know about this, when it comes to like the teams. Maybe this was something that the teams were on board with. Maybe it was Anderson Promotions at the time, before IndyCar started sanctioning Indy Lights. It also could have been something where, it was a joint collaboration, a joint consensus that Indy Lights cars did not need to race on the oval at Indianapolis, and that's very possible. And if that is the case, I guess we have to respect it. But at the same time, I feel like these drivers want to be able to race, especially be able to learn on a high speed oval like that, because you go from not racing any high speed ovals to jumping into IndyCar, and I feel like that makes IndyCar more dangerous. These Indy Lights cars where you're racing at 200 miles an hour. Now that's not a thing anymore. And you're going to ask somebody that moves up from Indy Lights to jump in an IndyCar and go 230, 240 miles per hour on qualifying day at Indianapolis.
Well,
I get there's rookie orientation, so there is a build-up. It's not like they just throw them in a car that's trimmed out for Q with Q boost and everything. I mean, they do work up to it, but that's still, that's a very short turnaround to be, to get accustomed to running at 230, 240 miles per hour on the edge in one of those cars. That's just my opinion.
But get this too, like guys like last year, definitely DeFrancesco, David Malukas, Kyle Kirkwood, their first opportunities of racing on the oval are during the test days. They have no idea what it's like to have fans in the stands or anything like that once they get there for the actual Indy 500 weekend. And especially when they get the boost too for qualifying, they have no idea. They have yet to experience that. I mean, yeah, you got the Indy orientation, like you said, but until they actually do it, they won't know what it's like until they get the qualifying boost. So you
For
have
sure.
no build up to it, and just trust the downforce of the car. It's something to work up to.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I hope it's something, something that comes back in the near future for sure. So, fingers crossed on that. Let's move on to send it or pull the reins, fellas. We got only a few topics to talk about this week. Nate says send it or pull the reins. No, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
You missed the first one. I can say what I had down first. The first thing I had down was Senator
No.
Pull the Reins kicking. No. I'm not saying this one. I'm saying the first one I had written down was Senator Pull the Reins, kick Zach off the show. No.
Send it.
All right, so
Yep, I say send, man. I mean, honestly,
all right.
no.
Yeah, no, send it for sure. That's yeah.
Exactly. All right, I'm out, bro. Stands up,
I'm out.
walks away, dude.
Peace. I got a vlog to go edit.
Welcome to the
later.
Jordan and Nate show.
Yeah, there we go.
Welcome to the Nate Morgenthaler Show Part 2.
No, it's Nate.
Welcome to Courtside Part 2.
No,
DJ
it's DJ Morganballer and Jordan.
Yeah. Okay,
we need to make this some sort of a segment, dude. DJ Morganballer and some sort of stupid segment.
it's just Nate's mixtape.
It's just Nate's random thoughts. The first thing that pops in his head.
Nate, you gotta get a disco ball
yeah.
for your room and get LED lights and stuff.
Dude, I need to, bro. No, but if you're confused what we're talking about, dude, I don't know why Zach just randomly said before we started recording that I could be a DJ.
Yeah.
So then I just said DJ Morganballer, and now he's just been talking about me being a DJ all of a sudden. So yeah.
So let's get back on track here.
Yeah.
Send it or pull the reins. Graham Rahal gets mad at Roman Grosjean for running into his side pod. Fellas, send it or pull the reins. Does Graham have a reason to be upset? Nate, start with you.
Yeah, screw you, Jordan. All right. I think at first, like if you look at the actual replay, at first I'm like, all right, I don't know why he's that upset. Like because I saw the interview. Like I didn't see it live. I saw the beginning of the race and end of it. I didn't really see that part. So I saw the interview and I was like, all right, I don't know why he's upset. Good race move. Then I see him get hit like 3 times. I'm like, all right, that's a little much. I see why he's upset, and he's not like going like, oh my god, so crazy at him. Because he's upset with him, but he's not actually so like, oh my god, I'm gonna freaking fight this guy. So I send it. I understand why he's mad. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I guess really, Jordan, what do you think?
It was kind of funny because Kevin Lee comes up to Graham Rahal and he goes, "Do you want the honest opinion, or do you want like, some kind of like a makeshift drama? What does Townsend want?" So,
dude, Graham's been like a whole different animal this year. Like I've been an IndyCar owner for like 3 years now, but from what I've seen, dude, he's been just doesn't care anymore. He's
He
just
also
going.
said that he's a top 3 driver. I love that. That is,
like,
I mean,
he's just
like,
going off, dude.
I'll give respect where it's due. Like if Graham would have said that like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when he had a stretch where he was, pretty solid, I would have agreed with that. But considering he hasn't won in 5 years, I would say, I don't know if I would agree with that 100%. Still a very good driver, regardless, very consistent. But
yeah.
So, in terms of Graham Rahal's perspective, yes, he has a right to be mad. Is he going to like? It's tough because the way Roman drives is pretty like that's the way he drives. I'm honestly going to say, that's how Europeans drive over in F1. They try to use up as much track as they possibly can. They try to use you up, and they try to get the most out of it to try to pass you. So in Roman's case, he's trying to hit his side pod a couple of times to slow him down out of the corner so that way Roman can get a run. Is it proper etiquette? No, not by any means, because that's something you would see in NASCAR, not in like IndyCar or F1 in this case. So, and especially with the way open wheel is, when he's hitting tire to side pod, that's ruining Graham's side pod. That could be ruining the downforce. That could be ruining the under tray of Graham's car. So Graham has a reason to be mad because Roman's causing damage to his car. So, yes, I understand the reason why Graham Rahal is mad. He has the right to be mad at Roman. The funny part is that Roman had the idea or the audacity to come on the interview afterwards and say, "Oh, it was all fun. It was good racing."
Dude, he seemed like
Yeah.
so jolly
He
too.
seems
He's
so
like,
innocent on it too.
yeah,
Like
what
there's
about that
absolutely
move
nothing
on?
wrong.
What about the incident with Graham Rahal? Oh yeah, it was
a lot of fun. I had a
It was
great time.
dude,
Great
he's just
success.
dude, he's such a when I got to meet him at a gateway, dude, it was so
Okay.
funny. He was so just like, yeah, just excited to be here. Excited to be. He was just, I don't know. It's so, I don't know. Man.
Roman's
It's
like
something.
By the way, I'm sending for this, and Ray Hall has the right to be mad at Grosjean. But like Grosjean has two different. He's like a two-faced kind of guy. Like he has your one face where you're just talking in person, and he's like so loving and nice and just like friendly as can be. Will be the nicest person on earth. But as soon as like he throws the helmet on, he's like a totally different person that is like out for blood trying to get you, or it basically will do anything he can to get by you or make a pass on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go send it as well. And I want to make a point here. And Jordan, you might remember this period of IndyCar. It was about 2013 to like 2015 ish, maybe 2012,
Okay, yeah.
2012 to 2015. It was when it was when Bo Barfield was race director. So of course,
Yep.
different race director, different time period of IndyCar. But it was, you know, they gave out avoidable contact penalties pretty frequently, and they categorized them as literally that, avoidable contact. Meaning,
Yeah.
if you could avoid hitting somebody and you hit them anyways, whether it was a spin, whether you passed them, if you just hit them and they found it to be totally unnecessary, there would be penalties for that.
Right.
I'm not saying that needs to be that extreme, but if it, say, for example, would have damaged Graham's car, maybe they need to set a precedent because aerodynamics are very important. That's why I bring this up. Is aerodynamics are so important with these cars that maybe elbows out is great, but when it comes to aerodynamic pieces being affected, for example, in the old days it was clear as day. If guys hit nose to tail and somebody's wing got broken,
Mm-hmm.
that's obvious. You know what I mean? Somebody's wing gets broken as a result. But I don't know where they would go with this. Regardless, I don't blame Graham for being upset. I personally, I would be annoyed just in the moment. Like, why is this guy hitting me? I totally get that in races, and I mean, I've been guilty of doing this, not nearly as much as I've received it, but in the moment you get hit, and you're like, why did I just get hit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does kind of annoy you. So I get it.
Yeah, and I think to the point as well, definitely if something would have happened to where Graham's car, let's just say a piece started malfunctioning and wasn't working properly or was damaged, at a track like Barber Motorsports Park as well, where the track is made for motorcycles in the first place, it's so aero dependent and it's so hard to pass, that basically would ruin Graham's whole race right there, and he's not battling for like top 10s or anything like that. He's battling for like top 20 just to stay on the lap maybe, because that could be his whole race done. So in this retrospect case, yeah, Graham definitely has the righteousness to be mad. And I think going back to what you said with Bo Barfield as the race director, I think that's honestly a good rule that could be implemented. If you can make contact with a guy and rough him up maybe a little bit, but if it causes any damage to a car or takes him out of contention or ruins his chances of winning a race, I think a penalty is going to get handed out. And Graham, if you heard on the radio, was barking and yelling and demanding for a penalty to give it to Grosjean. But I think, IndyCar did the right thing, not giving him a penalty at the time. But I think definitely, Graham's definitely going to be keeping a close eye on Grosjean and probably going to be racing him a little bit differently. I don't think, it's nothing too intentional where he's going to force him off the track or anything, but he's definitely going to give him a lot less room than he would give, let's say, a guy like Jack Harvey or any of his other teammates or any other competitor that he races against. He's probably going to be the watchful eye that he's going to keep close quarters racing on the most.
I mean, let's be real. How would you guys have felt if that contact resulted to side pod damage or electronics damage? Or
you'd be flamed.
Oh yeah, for sure, exactly. That's my point. So, like, from a race control standpoint, if, obviously no action taken. But what if Graham would have had to pit for damage, to replace a
Oh
side
yeah.
pod, or if it damaged the electronics or something like that? You would think there would have to be a penalty for that because
Oh,
I think they've
absolutely.
done it in the past. I don't know how recently they've done a penalty like that, but it begs the question, like how far does hard racing go? Because we've seen some guys get away with some pretty cheeky
I think,
stuff, I will say.
yeah, I think this is also just kind of shows a shade of Grosjean still learning. And
Yeah.
he's come to a point where he's learned a lot, but I think he's kind of gotten to that point where he's trying to. So he got to the point where he learned the rules, he learned all this kind of stuff. Now he's trying to bend them as much as possible.
He's testing the waters.
He's testing the waters. He's starting to, instead of meeting the rules and learning how to race, now he's okay. I'm gonna start bending the rules a little bit. So now he's bending the rules a little bit, trying to make a little bit contact, see how much these cars can take when it comes to wheel contact.
Mhm.
He's just trying to he's pushing a little bit because he's gotten pretty close to win. Obviously now Long Beach, it was second place finish, I think. He's getting pretty close now, to win
Yeah.
here. So he's kind of. I think honestly, I think next season will be this season where he's like wanting to win and really start competing.
I think he wants to win now.
I think he wants to win now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he wants to win now, but I think honestly, I think he needs this season to get more comfortable and really start racing. I think next season could be a standout year for him.
Quite honestly, Nate, I'm going to disagree with you here. This is your own send the pull to race topic here because I think Grosjean's
it is a good one.
Grosjean actually is probably going to one of his best tracks next at the GP.
Yeah,
he's raced on.
I think he could win before. I think he could win for sure.
He's finished on the podium. That's where he got his first podium. He actually got pole there last time, and he basically dominated the whole race until Renus VK took the win away from him in that case. Yeah. But so I think in this case, Grosjean's looking for redemption, and he's looking to come back, looking to dominate and looking to win.
Yeah, I think he definitely can win this season, but I think when we're talking about standout season, I think Grosjean next season could be something really stand out though.
Sure.
But there's got to be that pressure, when you come from F1 and you're coming to IndyCar, and it's like, Europeans, and this is no knock on Europe or F1, it's that Americans aren't good racers compared to Europeans.
Sure.
So the idea that a F1 driver can't go to IndyCar and be competitive, and Grosjean is competitive. I just want to preface that, but not walk in like Nigel Mansell did, and even Nigel Mansell was out to lunch a little bit at times. But Mansell won the championship as a rookie. He won several races. He was pretty much in control. Not the case with Grosjean. Of course, different time periods. I get it, but it is kind of that thing where people think he's going to come in and just tear it up. But people forget Jacques Villeneuve.
Jacques Villeneuve.
Won
my legend. The legend. I'm going to get a t-shirt
won
of that,
the kart championship in 1995 as well as the Indy 500 and was F1 world champion by 1997.
Yeah.
So, you can say what you want.
We're going way off topic.
Well, one more
totally
point.
Fair to say.
We're going way off topic here.
One more point to Zach's point, too. You go back to even the beginning of the season when Marcus Ericsson tweeted out. We talked about this on the show earlier, too, in the year when they were testing out at Sebring. Kevin Magnussen subbed in, I think, was Felix Rosenquist or Alex Palou in the Ganassi car, and basically was the slowest out of everybody at the Sebring test. Yet later that week, jumps into an F1 car in the Haas F1 and goes, let's say, second fastest overall in the F1 test.
And that was confusing.
Now he's putting it then he put a P5 at the actual Bahrain race. So to get an F1 driver who finishes P5, but weeks before that finishes dead last in an IndyCar test. So it just kind of like you're just comparing apples to oranges in this case, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. So probably good to move on then. I think we all agreed on it.
Speaking of F1 at IndyCar.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Let's hear it.
Sender of Polar Waynes, does Pato Award continue with Aerosmith Peterson McLaren?
I'm gonna go first because I think if you're talking about him in IndyCar, like you send it, he's fine in IndyCar. I don't know why McLaren would ever. By the way, is that how you spell McLaren?
Probably. I don't know. I just kind of typed
McLaren. Does Pato O'Ward
No,
stay
that's
with
not how
McLaren?
you spell McLaren.
No,
I think he could stay with McLaren. I really do think he can stay with McLaren. I think
Jordan spelled it McLearn. McLearn.
I think McLaren would be crazy to get rid of. With their great McDonald's education system, I really think that'd be crazy to get rid of Pato O'Ward.
Jordan got his diploma in a McDonald's Happy Meal.
this is why I'm a race car driver.
Hey, you have a college degree. You got a college degree.
Anyways, McLaren, yeah, they should
McLaren.
definitely keep Award. I think Award would be crazy going anywhere else if he's an IndyCar. Now, if he has any kind of F1 hopes, that's the only way I would say him continuing and not going with a team that's not McLaren. And
Well, he does have
F1,
a contract
yeah,
in IndyCar.
Yeah, exactly.
He is getting an extension. They worked.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been signed, but they said on the broadcast that
for sure
he does have a new deal lined up.
Okay, because because obviously his contract expired at the end of this year, and
Correct.
they were potentially lining him up to become a McLaren F1 driver potentially, but they signed Colton Herta to that junior driver development program with McLaren, and not
Which is crazy.
Pato O'Ward.
I must say, would you guys
Which is
take
kind of
if you're the F1 team boss, team principal, you're a Zach Brown, you taking Herta or Ward? That's a good question, actually. Real fast, you're on topic here. We don't have too many topics. This is a good topic.
Are we talking talent or are we talking consistency?
I don't know. Zach, you're Zach Brown, and next year you have Lando Norris. Who do you want his team to be? Colton Herta, or do you want it to be Pato O'Ward?
Well,
That's
I mean, you would say Colton, but ever since Colton really signed that deal, he's kind of been – you're kind of regretting that decision because of how many mistakes and how many, easy mistakes he's been making.
Mm-hmm. Zach,
yeah,
what do you think,
I mean,
real quick?
Considering
Quick
McLaren is struggling in F1, I would say, I know Lando had a podium, but by last year's standards, they've struggled, I think. I think it's fair to say. You don't want to throw somebody. What's up?
I said they did get a 1-2 out of Monza
last year.
Yeah, but I mean, my big thing is, you want to throw somebody in that's, if they're fast, but they gotta do the job. You know what I mean? Even if it's not a great day, don't do anything stupid. Don't tear the car up. Colton Herta, I hate to say it, but Barber. Gosh, look at Barber. Just took himself out of the race. Long Beach took himself out of the race. Nashville took himself. I mean, this is almost like a Rossi trend where he's trying to get too much. He's overextending the car. I hate to say it, because I really like Colton Herta. He is an incredible talent, but this is starting to become a trend. And Pato O'Ward, even though people might say that Colton is more talented, Pato doesn't make those mistakes, or not as frequently. So
sure,
I think you would have to say, if you had to pick one or the other, because ideally, if they're just jumping into a McLaren F1 seat, they're probably going to be the B driver, right? And if you're trying to sign a B driver, you want a guy 100%. That's kind of a utilitarian
at this point,
driver.
Lando's got.
We're talking about the job, right? So
if it was next season, Lando's got about 4 seasons on his belt, so Lando will be fine. Lando definitely main driver, dude. There's no doubt about that.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? If you're looking for 100%. A B driver,
100%.
It's got to be somebody that just shows up, they do their job, no antics, no crazy stuff. And in my mind, that's Pato, and he's an A driver. If I had to, so
here's my next question. And quick thoughts here. Quick answers as well. Next season, like I said, if you're Zach Brown, would you take, which one would you take? Now, my next question is here. You have Lando Norris, your second driver. Would you want to take Award or Herta, or would you keep Danny Rick based off how he's been the last couple of years at McLaren?
I think you still keep Danny Rick, quite honest with you. I still think you keep Danny Rick because, quite honestly, it all depends on what Pato does. I mean, now Zach's mentioned that he potentially could be signing another contract extension with McLaren and IndyCar. So if that's the case, he's set. He's set there. Otherwise, I feel like he would go somewhere else only because of the whole Colton Herta signs with the McLaren junior driver development. It kind of is a slap in the face to Pato that you gave him an F1 test at Abu Dhabi later that year, and he was probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy during that test in Abu Dhabi the first time in the car. And
Mhm.
then you give another driver that he's racing against on a different team that driver development seat, whereas you're not giving your own McLaren driver, and it's also a contract year that he's up. I feel like he's kind of been backstabbed a little bit. He could be going to a different team. And especially if he gets an opportunity like, let's say, a Chip Ganassi or a Penske car, if he has a better opportunity, who's to tell that he would not take that opportunity up? So,
Yeah.
and if he's obviously getting paid more money too, why wouldn't you? I mean, if all the stars align to go to a different team and it's a much better opportunity, I don't see why Pat O'Ward would pass it up. So that's the only reason what I could see. But in this case, too, I think to answer your question, Nate, they would stay with Danny Rick because Pato would, if he stays with McLaren, he'd stay with the IndyCar team, and you don't go with Colton because I think Colton's lining himself up to be a part of that Andretti seat when it comes to F1 eventually in
Has
2024.
has Award really showed interest in F1? I mean, I'm not too catch up. Has he showed? I know Colton obviously showed a lot of different stuff. Has Award really showed like himself any kind of interest? Do you guys know of that? I'm not sure.
I would argue that Award has shown more interest towards F1 than Colton
I
has.
think so too.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Okay.
Colton,
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, like the first, like once Colton won a race and, has kind of established himself in IndyCar, he kind of
Mhm.
made it clear that he wasn't interested in going anywhere. Now, that could have just been that, from a job security standpoint, but at the same time, I mean, you
I
got to
feel like
keep
he
in mind,
wants. I feel like he
at
wants to prove
this,
himself a little more in IndyCar too, as well.
but
I
at the same
honest.
time
But
that Colton won his first race,
mhm.
Pato got the deal with the Red Bull, was it Red Bull Junior team?
Yeah,
I think something like
To
that.
go
Yeah,
over and race. Was it Formula 3.5? It was
something like that.
Formula
It
Renault
was. It was.
3.5 or
Yeah,
something like that,
I
yeah.
remember
or
that.
Super Formula. I think it was Super
Hmm.
Formula in Japan, the
Oh
the
yeah,
series that Pelot raced
Hello
in
was in.
before
Yeah,
coming. So I think he raced in Super Formula and maybe a few other things, but his focus was not on IndyCar. That's what I'm trying to get at. 2019. Now, obviously, maybe he feels a little bit different now. He's had success in IndyCar. Maybe he would rather conquer IndyCar before going to F1. And I think maybe you can
Yeah,
make that argument for both
Mhm.
drivers. If each were given the same opportunity and it was a good opportunity to go to F1, given their success from each driver in IndyCar, I would say
I
Pato
feel like
would
any.
probably be more likely to go to F1 if I had to guess.
I feel like any IndyCar driver would take an F1 seat if it was open. Though,
Well,
I
you
don't
honestly,
make
think
a
I don't think
crap ton of
anybody
money.
would.
maybe I'm wrong
You
about
make
that.
a
Maybe I'm wrong
crap ton
about
of money.
that.
You make so
Not
much
just that,
more
but I
money.
feel like I feel like IndyCar is very high in racing, man. But F1, I feel like just the
I,
like because IndyCar you can like all people in NASCAR driver you can like I mean you can I guess it comes to old race you can go any higher than that. But like come to IndyCar, you can kind of downplay IndyCar in certain ways in the competition and all kinds of stuff. But really, look at F1, dude. You can't. That's the highest in motorsport. That's what the pinnacle. I feel like in motorsports. I feel like any IndyCar driver would
Except
take
for the
that. Jordan, what do,
500.
what do you think?
yeah,
Yeah,
Except for
I,
and that
that
would
is
be my
true.
caveat personally.
That is true.
Like if I was in their shoes and I was presented something like that, you know, it's hard to turn away Indy because that
Mm-hmm.
would be my thing. It's like, hey, you go do F1, but still want to race the Indy 500. Well, the way it's laid out now, you can't because
Yeah.
now again, Monaco is the same day as Indianapolis. It's
you got to do
impossible.
what
You
you
can't
got to
do
do
it.
like what Fernando Alonso did, where you have to
Yeah,
miss the race and have someone fill the seat. But
right.
I think to the other point too, the only reason why I think Herta's in the talk of an F1 seat is because I feel like he's kind of been forced into it, and that's not because of any American people here have said, "Oh, Herta's the next American driver for F1," which people have said that. But I think the reason why they're saying that is because you get British journalists like, let's say, a Will Buxton, for example, saying that there needs to be an American in F1, and the next person that you look to when you look at for an American driver is Colton Herta, who's in line. So I don't think Herta himself has the initiative wanting to go to F1. I think he's kind of been forced or been pushed into the initiative by others, and
Pushed,
he's
yeah.
kind of taken that stride to go with it.
I think pushed is a big. I think that's an accurate statement. That's a fair assessment. Yeah, because and that's been a thing for a while. The closest person to aside from those two guys, or aside from Colton being an American, in potentially being in F1 is You got Logan Sargent in
Who's in
F2.
F2? Yeah,
You've got Cameron Doss. I believe he's in F3.
Jack Crawford.
What is Jack Crawford racing?
I
Is that
think
F3 also?
I think it's Euro F3 now, and then Hunter
Euro
Yaney,
F3.
who's in F3,
Yeah.
and then
So,
yeah,
So I mean, there are some, but there's not. I mean, when you look at you know the broad spectrum, that's not hardly anything, But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think there is something to that he's being kind of pushed in that direction. And if that's something that, especially if that's something that stakeholders want, that's a big thing.
yeah,
Money talks, and if you're in IndyCar and you've got your sponsors in IndyCar wanting to, because when I think of him taking on the McLaren reserve thing, you gotta, it has to circle back to Andretti F1, right?
right,
Preparing him for that. That's what I think of, at least. So from that standpoint, I think of not only the interest of Michael Andretti, but also the interest of those partners. If that's what
Yeah.
those partners want, you would think that they're going to push the guy that they think gives them their best shot. And if there is any way of creating that kind of publicity that could potentially generate even more partnerships, especially for an operation that would be as colossal as that one, yeah, I mean, I could see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just how it is, I guess. We'll have to see how that plays out, and I guess kind of circling back around to Pato's thing. I think he's great
Are you
for
guys?
IndyCar.
I was about to say, are you guys send it for him staying in IndyCar? Or are you pulling their reins?
Well, you said send it, right, Nate?
I said send it. That if like IndyCar wise, then yeah, it would be crazy, man.
I think
if we're talking just IndyCar now,
I think for sure he stays in IndyCar, but does he stay with
Then, yeah,
McLaren?
send it.
Is an interesting topic. I
Well,
think.
he has a
send
deal. He does have a deal lined up.
Okay,
Send
so
it.
then yes,
It's not been
he's in.
signed, but they said on the broadcast that
Send
they
it.
do have something.
Even if there wasn't a deal yet, and we had no idea, like zero clue, dude. There would be if I was Pat O'Ward and I had the offer to go to McLaren, I would not turn that down at all.
I'm
What
going to
he's
say
done so far and what he can do, I think it'd be pretty crazy going anywhere else, honestly, right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say send it because I think probably the intent of that contract is IndyCar,
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think it also leaves the door open. Obviously, him being at
For
McLaren, I think that leaves the door open for F1 if something happens.
Yeah, McLaren with their F1 and IndyCar team, I feel like have been kind of putting them closer together every single year. I feel like too.
they are.
Yeah.
They're kind
They're
of
definitely trying to
which I
bridge
like.
that gap.
I like that too. Honestly, it's pretty neat. So I really like how they're getting closer and closer together. So I would definitely could see them,
I
driver
guar-
swaps, a little bit here and there, and yeah.
I guarantee you're going to see Pato Ward or Felix Rosenquist, the both IndyCar McLaren drivers,
Oh, yeah.
down in Miami Grand Prix this weekend doing hot laps in
For
like the Pirelli McLaren cars and everything like that. They're definitely going to be down there. Speaking
No
of
doubt.
IndyCar and a fun topic, it's throwback weekend for NASCAR this week down in Darlington. So, Senator Paul Wayne, should IndyCar have a throwback weekend? And if so, what track should host it?
Senator pull the reins. I would say send it. Every now and then you'll see a team do a throwback to something. For example,
McLaughlin did one this past weekend, I think, right?
the Sancio scheme.
Yeah, I think it was a throwback scheme to something.
No, they ran that scheme with Joseph last year. That's just a sponsor.
Okay.
Anyway.
Like, for example, Graham Rahal, the United Reynolds car, the white and blue, the United Reynolds.
Bring back the steak and shake.
Yeah, United Reynolds car. That that was a throwback to the Miller Lite car in the late '90s that his dad drove, and then also I think it was a Total car he ran at Long Beach, was a throwback to the Budweiser True Sports car that he drove, won the Indy 500 with. So like we see those from time to time. Elio, prime example. Elio driving the Yellow Submarine, made famous by Rick Mears. I believe also Johnny Rutherford drove a similar scheme, but that was with Chaparral cars. That was whose team was that? It was they also raced in the 90s. Joe DeFerrin was the last guy to drive for them.
Zach.
It's gonna bug me if I don't know this.
Zach,
I swear.
send it or pull the reins.
Hold on.
It's a simple question.
Jim Hall. That's who it was. Jim Hall's team. Chaparral.
Zach, are you send it or pull the reins?
Nate,
okay.
Nate,
what track?
Hold on. I'm send it, and I'm gonna say send it if you can either go back to Milwaukee, because that's a historic IndyCar track.
Sure.
We're talking decades ago,
Mm-hmm.
or Michigan, because the Michigan 500.
Okay.
They need to bring back the Michigan 500.
Didn't.
I went on.
I was
going
to mention
on Facebook
Zach
about this earlier this week. With this whole, they're moving from Belle Isle to the actual downtown streets of Detroit for this IndyCar race coming up. And then I forget why I started ranting about freaking ovals, about Michigan and Pocono and whatnot. I totally don't remember why, but Michigan definitely needs to be on the schedule.
Yeah.
It's because Mario Andretti was talking about oval racing, that there needs to be more ovals in IndyCar, and I totally agree with that. I mean, my opinion of speedway racing being considered unsafe does not boil down to speeds or safety of the cars or safety of the tracks. To me, I think it boils down to the drivers, and that might be, a pessimistic way to look at it. That might be, to some people maybe an ignorant way or an insensitive way to look at it. But
sure,
you can even go back to the start at Texas, last year when Connor Daly flipped. That was totally just drivers running over each other. And it was a chain reaction, there was a pileup because one car spins, two cars spin, and everything. But when it comes to high-speed ovals, I mean, guys, they broke the closed course record at Fontana in 2001 with Joe DeFerrin.
Right.
His average lap speed was 241 miles an hour. They raced, in the races, they would still hit maximum speeds of 240 plus. And they raced each other, and of course you were on edge, but they were able to race each other with no issues for the most part at those speeds every year, sometimes multiple times a year. Fontana, Michigan, Indianapolis.
Exactly.
Just saying, go back to Michigan.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I send it.
Okay, good. We're gonna go a little bit off track. So
I'll send it to
Jordan
Nate before he has an aneurysm. Go, Nate.
No, I'm just sitting here. Okay.
An aneurysm or an angerism? Is that what you? Did you say
Angerism.
Angerism. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna go with yes. I was gonna mention how Zach we did you little like the IORL. We did the throwback. Whenever we raced in Michigan this year. So I think that is true. Another track. Now you're gonna be impressed here. I've done my little research. Okay, I know. They've been racing on this track since 1997, and I think it's consistently at least. If they kept the same schedule if they kept the same schedule as right now, I think the best track I would do a throwback to, I think would be pretty cool, is at Texas. But I do like the idea of Zach said Milwaukee or Michigan would be also really neat if they brought those back.
Okay,
that's mine. But definitely send it. I love it. That's a really cool idea. I really, again, NASCAR for me this season has been really just kind of mad watching. I'm kind of okay tuning every once in a while, but I always watch a throwback race because I love see all the paint schemes. So yeah, Jordan.
So I agree. Throwback race should come, and I think it could come up with a lot of cool schemes for this race. There's a plethora of schemes that IndyCar can come back with that I think would bring a lot of nostalgia back to IndyCar fans. You would even probably incorporate some of the kart fans as well into it too. So I think you can kind of rekindle and connect both fan bases back into the IndyCar series in that case. In terms of track, there's two. One, I'm probably going to get a lot of hatred back from, but another, I think you're going to get a lot of sympathy from. And the one that I'm going to get hatred is an oval Pikes Peak International Raceway for a throwback race.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I think ISC still owns that, right? International Speedway Corporation, basically NASCAR.
Yes,
so that could potentially be an issue. ISC also owns Michigan.
Yep.
So those are barriers there. You're directly competing with NASCAR potentially, but Pikes Peak, I like that idea because they haven't raced there since 2000. 5, I think.
No, they haven't, and it's been so long.
So-
And it's a proper short mile oval, like we have at Iowa. I think that's the track would be safe enough. It'd be another small oval that IndyCar would be able to go to. The other track I'm thinking of that I think everybody would love to see come back on the calendar is Cleveland, racing at the airport strip.
The airport, yeah. Now, of course, that's a proximity concern. Being in Ohio, I mean, although it is, a couple hours, Mid-Ohio, well, no, that's pretty close. Mid-Ohio and Cleveland, yeah, that's pretty close. Within driving distance, obviously. You've got Detroit. You've got
I was going to say another thing
Indy's
they could do
that,
as well.
Indy's pretty far from Cleveland, but the proximity thing, because that's a big topic. When you try to limit where you race, trying to be respectful of the other tracks on the schedule.
Sure.
I get where the debate sparks of, you got to be careful of where you race because you don't want to make your other tracks upset over it. However, CART raced at Mid-Ohio, Cleveland, Detroit. They raced at Michigan. They raced at Indianapolis. They raced, I guess this is my big point earlier when I was talking about it is we race on the Indy GP twice a year.
True.
And I get it's in Indianapolis. It is the capital of the sport.
But think about it. There's 3 IndyCar races taking place at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yep.
3.
When that love could be shared at other tracks that would draw in a different crowd because, okay, if you lived in Indianapolis or lived close enough to drive, I mean, realistically, I think all of us could drive to Indianapolis for any of those races if we wanted to. Would you buy tickets to all 3 races? Probably not, right?
No. You'd probably do the you probably would do the Indy GP that's happening this weekend and the Indy 500. You probably wouldn't do the Harvest GP.
No. So that's a lot of racing at one track. I guess that was my big point is, spread the love, go somewhere else. There's so many good tracks. Watkins Glen. We brought Watkins Glen out because to bail out the Boston GP, I think it was Boston.
Oh, a throwback race at Watkins.
Oh, that would be cool.
Jeez.
I'm now changing my answer. I think. Yeah, I'm now changing. I just forgot. I forgot Watkins existed. Another thing I wanted to ask, this is kind of a throw off of NASCAR. Obviously, always doing Darlington, always doing every year. What if IndyCar changed up a little bit? Every season did a different track. It doesn't have to be exactly historic, but maybe a little bit historic. Not like Nashville. Nothing like brand new. Something a little bit historic at least with it, and something is at least. Have the track at least have some sort of historic nature from IndyCar.
Some significance, yeah.
Some significance in IndyCar's history. I think it'd be kind of cool every year a different track to do that as well.
I think you would see a change up in the paint schemes too, based on the significance of the track itself. Like you would definitely see.
Like Texas, the first race, like I said, was 97, and then from to now. So what if they kind of had a 90s theme for Texas or something like that? Maybe that would be as well pretty cool.
I think you definitely would see a lot of Al Unser Jr. throwback schemes, maybe some Sam Hornish Jr. throwback schemes back to the old oval days. You definitely would see maybe even Evan Cheever scheme. You would definitely see.
Yeah, I mean, think about it and you could even say Phoenix, although Phoenix is much different than when they raced there a lot. They've since gone back to the reconfigured Phoenix in 2016, 17, and 18, I think.
Yeah.
But going back to tracks that have some significance, where hey, here's this scheme that Scott Goodyear won the, I think it was 1993 Michigan 500 with. You know what I mean? Like something of significance. Where it was important, So you think of tracks like Portland, Road America, Michigan.
You're locked in on
Milwaukee,
Michigan.
Phoenix.
He loves Michigan, dude. He loves
Watkins
Michigan.
Glen. It's like so many historic tracks. So
the list goes on.
Yep. Alrighty.
Bozo of the week. We talked about him just recently ago. Mr. American himself, Colton Herta, makes headlines yet again. It was the battle with him and Romain Grosjean going down to turn number 1 at Barber. Herta overcooks the pass, and goes off track, loses the spot, and then eventually later on, makes a very late maneuver going into turn 5, and ends up spinning himself out through contact. So, again, we talked about on our last topic when something that pulled the reins, Zach included to it, is that Herta's just continuing to make a reoccurrence of mistakes over and over again. Soon it's going to start to become a meme. We saw it in F1. There's a meme.
Messy spin.
It's Mazepin Spin, the
Mazepin.
Twitter handle of Mazepin Spin. Did Mazepin spin this race? Yes. It's going to be a incident of Colton Herta. Did Colton Herta spin himself out or wreck himself this race? Yes or no?
America and F1's already kind of a meme in a lot of things, So adding Colton Herta, if Colton Herta getting this reputation in IndyCar and then he goes to F1 with that reputation, dude, oh no. It's gonna be another Mazepin, dude. And how much memed he gets, it's not good.
So, anyway, let's end the show off with our favorite topic: predictions from what happened this past weekend. So we had IMSA out at Laguna Seca. NASCAR was obviously at Dover, and IndyCar at Barber. I ended up getting 1 point this weekend for going with Wayne Taylor Racing gets pole. They actually ended up winning. And that Roman Grosjean wins. That did not happen. Nate went for.
That's last week's. Yeah,
that's last.
Yeah,
week's
so I forgot. So I did within the IMSA race a red flag within the first couple laps, whatever it was, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Red flag, a early red flag, and then I had Will Power to win the.
Did you just say red flag?
Well, did you say?
Okay, you said pull the Waynes. Pull the Waynes twice. I didn't shout. You said pull the Waynes twice in a row. I didn't even say anything. And I say, anyways. No, I said Will Power to win. So I didn't get any points.
Will Power.
What are the point standings even? I need to look. What are the point standings? Jordan's with 5. Zach's with 1. I'm with 3.
Zach's actually with 2 behind Jordan. Zach's actually with 2 because one of his picks was car gets stuck in the gravel and Callum Milot got stuck in the gravel in turn 9.
Oh, I did get a point. Let's go.
I knew Zach actually does get a point.
That happens every year. That literally happens every year.
Did you add that already?
Yeah, I just added it. And then
Let's go.
Jed actually gets a point because he had a beef in an interview for driver, which he also had.
Is Jed also representing the guest as well? Points.
He is actually.
Jed kind of because Jed became Jed's a guest.
Jed is more than a guest, but he's representing the guest.
Yeah, he represents the guest when we have no guest. That's what Jed does. But what happens when we have a guest plus Jed?
Well,
they get double the points. They get double the points.
Is Jed that bad at guessing, guys?
He doesn't put it a guess every week anyway.
Okay, so let's break down what we've got for racing this weekend then.
Yeah, I got mine down.
No, I mean, what are we picking for? We've got NASCAR at...
Yeah, true.
Where's NASCAR at this weekend?
I have
NASCAR's
no
at Darlington doing throwback weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Throwback.
And F1 is obviously in Miami.
No IndyCar, no IMSA.
No, not for this week.
So I'll go first. I'll say for my obscure pick, there's going to be a track blockage.
Okay.
Track blockage.
And F1, okay.
Meaning, cars have to come to a stop to, because I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Track blockage.
Sure.
Does that have to be in the race, or can that be any time during the weekend?
Let's say any time during the weekend. I'll go with any time.
Track blockage at some point during the weekend, and then for my pick, part of me wants to pick the Cup race because Denny Hamlin's really good at Darlington.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Truex Jr. is pretty good at Darlington. Chase Elliott just won a race; he's pretty good at Darlington. Kyle Larson's pretty good everywhere.
Are we just going to go through the whole Cup list?
Cody Ware's got a really good shot this week, guys.
I was about to say, Cody Ware might crash the wall. I was just about to say that.
I can't. I'm friends with Cody. I can't say that.
I love that, dude. That's
gosh.
So funny.
Race winner.
Yeah,
I'm like teetering between NASCAR or F1, what I want to pick. All right, race winner. We're gonna go F1, and I'm gonna say Max Verstappen is gonna win this week.
Okay.
Stop it. All right. I'm gonna go with my picks. I already have them down here. I'll give Jordan some time to think about his. So I'm gonna go with mine is similar to Zach's. I don't know if we'll count this. I'm gonna go more specific into the race because I think this is gonna happen at least once this weekend. So I'm gonna be more specific and say race because it has a little bit less chance of happening. A red flag in the race due to track repair / non-car debris. So basically, track debris due to the walls or just red flags, a repair on track type deal. Red flag due to that. That's my guess. So yeah, and then Carlos getting a podium. Carlos been struggling, obviously. If you haven't seen, he's been really struggling. But I think this weekend's going to turn around and get a podium here. So why not? Let's get him in.
All right,
that's mine.
I got my picks. So I'm gonna go with this is a throwback race for NASCAR.
Gosh,
this is a throwback race for NASCAR, but I'm gonna go with a non-throwback car wins.
That would be so funny.
Zach's face just goes.
That would be so funny. A throwback car wins a race.
Yeah, I feel like NASCAR, probably publicity wise, would not like that.
No,
they'd be
they
like,
would implode.
They would be like, this sucks.
So
that is so counterculture that it would be really funny.
So a non-throwback car is going to win their cup race, and
Yeah.
I was going to say Max Verstappen. No, Valtteri Bottas podium.
Stopping. Oh.
Okay.
So that's cool. Alrighty. I think that is everything this week, guys.
Did Evan or Jed make their picks?
They're not going to make their picks live on the show. I am going to implement them in throughout the week because they are not responding.
Wow.
Wow. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to tune in next time to the Arrive and Drive podcast. I'm your host, Nate Markethale. Thank you for my guest, Jordan Missick and Zach McCann.
We're guests.
Yes, now guys.
Even though they did 90% of the talking, thank you for coming to my show.
Zach, if our picks are right, I guess we get the guest points.
Nah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, no. Whoa. Hey, now. Hey, you're in the lead, Jordan. Shut up, bro. You're in the lead. Okay.
You're right. So you guys get to catch up, I guess. We have to make the guest win.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
the guest is tied with me.
That's like when you play Madden and you take both controllers and you just start playing against yourself.
Start playing
when you want to play. Yeah, that's
Zach. If you need a friend, Zach, I'll be your friend.
You want to play Madden with me, dude?
Actually, it sounds like a lot of fun, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm down
let's
with
go.
Madden sometime.
Okay.
When you have a Madden tournament. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you tune in next time.
Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you're listening to us on any of the major podcast platforms, make sure you guys also hit that follow button. You guys know when we post next. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Nate's gonna go charge his phone. This has been Arrive and Drive. Catch you next week.
We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.